Let's get spooky. This is our Station Boo, where we explore the dark and mysterious corners of the world of horror, and we know that you are dying to listen. Welcome to the Spooky and Kooky podcast of Earth Station Boo, where we talk all things horror. Introducing our haunted host with the most, we have Lisa.
Hi, guys.
We have Karen.
What's up, my horrorholics?
And I am Shannon, and this episode, we are actually going to be reviewing a horror podcast that was a fictional series called The Darkest Night. Hey, horrorholics. It's time for the Ghastly Report. Stay tuned for all the fun, spine-tingling news happening in horror today, from new releases to spooky events and so much more.
All right, so what do we have for our Ghastly Report today, Lisa?
Well, Megan Fox is coming out again, and she is going to play a killer android in the upcoming thriller called Subservience. I'll post the trailer up on our Facebook group. It looks really good. I watched it earlier. And then you thought Cocaine Bear was wild. We have Meth Alligator coming out. So, yes,
that happened on Tuesday in Florida.
So, Meth Gator swims home in August, and there's a trailer for it.
All right.
We have a really cool thing called The Soul Eater. And it's an independent film by Julian Mari and Alexander Bustiello. And it's going to be really, really good. It looks really creepy, and it's very, I don't know, it looks creepy as heck. It gave me the chills just watching the trailer, so I'll post that up. And then Masters of the Universe is coming out on Blu-ray. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, since this is Trap, is another M. Night movie. It's coming out this week, and it looks really good.
It does look really good.
That's what is happening in the news, and I will post those trailers up on Monday like I always do.
There is a ton of stuff happening in the con world, so we will be posting what we have going up into the Facebook group. But we want to hear from you guys where you live and where you go to the cons, or what cons you go to, so we can help advertise the places that you guys like going to. The three of us, we love Dragon Con, and so we do talk about that one quite a bit. I'm in Florida, so I love Spooky and Spookala, but there are other cons in other areas and places, and we would love for you guys to let us know so we can share those events with you. I know that Houston has their horror stuff going on, and who was another one? Oh, Spooky Empire just had their Carolina con this past weekend. Let us know so we can share all that kind of fun stuff for you guys. But let's get into the episode.
We are talking about the podcast, The Darkest Night. It had 3 seasons. It was actually a production from the Paragon Collective, which was kind of sponsored by Shudder, which is an AMC all horror streaming service. And it was kind of revolutionary when it came out. It came out back in 2008 or 2016. It ended in 2018. It only had 3 seasons. The 3rd season was extremely short, but it did have some really cool technology. They actually had binaural recording, which I thought that was kind of cool. But the story itself, I thought was kind of interesting as well. So we decided we're going to test out what you guys think about us talking about fictional podcasts on here. And we figured this would be a good one since it was a complete story. So what is everybody's initial thoughts on The Darkest Night. Lisa, you want to start us off?
Yes, my initial thought when I first started listening to it was more like a sci-fi horror.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting. I actually kind of liked it a little bit. There were some dry parts, but most of it kept me engaged. I thought the voice acting or the voices were really good. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah. Karen, what about you?
So I enjoyed like the first two seasons. Okay. I thought it was a really good concept, really good storyline going on. Third season, the only thing that saved the third season for me was Keith David. That man has a voice like butter. I mean, just
You're not wrong.
so yeah, there was a lot of confusion for me when I was listening to it, but once I started getting into it, I started like, piecing things together. But I enjoyed it. Sci-fi horror, some body horror for what it was.
Yeah. I fell in love with it when I first started listening to it. I was like, this is cool. Part of it was because I was listening to it with headphones, which if you are going to listen to this podcast and you haven't listened to it already, please listen to it with headphones. It's so much better that way. But I kind of liked the story. I like how they told the story. I liked how there were parts of it that even to the characters, they're sitting there going, this doesn't make sense. There was a lot of it that I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I'm really enjoying this. And like Karen, I agree. Like that third season,
It fell flat.
I would like to talk to the people who wrote and produced this, and I would like some answers. Because I have some questions.
I have lots of questions.
I really do feel like the third season, it was half-assed. It was not done in a way that I think showed respect to the rest of the work that they had done previously, in my opinion. But with that being the case, let's kind of talk first about the concept of fictional audio podcast. It's kind of like almost going back to like the old like radio days, like radio drama days, which did have a lot of horror at that time. What are you guys' thoughts on like this kind of like storytelling?
I enjoy this type of storytelling because there are some times where, I don't want to watch TV, but then again, I don't want to read.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's the best of both worlds because I can sit there and imagine like what the characters look like in my mind's eye. I don't have to get forced of looking at this character like this is what they look like. No, I could cast my own people in there. And in the sound quality, when they use squirts of blood and cuts and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
that draws me into the story. So I wish, I hope that we continue this whole podcast fiction telling because it does remind me back growing up when I used to listen to the old radio stations, listening to the
Mm-hmm.
old stories. So I hope this continues.
Yeah. Okay. Lisa, what about you?
Oh yeah, I definitely like this style of storytelling. And like you were talking about the bilateral headphone thing. Okay, it made me jump when I was at work because I thought there was something behind me because I have my headphones on while I'm doing my. So I like that whole atmosphere. I mean, I like old story because I used to listen to radio shows when I was a kid too with my dad. And sometimes you're just kind of like Karen said, you don't want to watch TV, you don't want to read a book, you just want to kind of immerse yourself in something. And everybody likes a good story to be told. And I think, storytelling is just something normal and most people like it. And sometimes it's nice to just kind of listen to it. So I really hope that we do continue and get some even better stories along the way. I really do.
Yeah, no, I agree with both of y'all. I mean, if you think about it, storytelling like this is the oldest way of doing it. It used to be around the campfire. It used to be while you were out walking. You would sit there and you would tell stories. And I enjoy the fact that you can, with the podcast portion of it, granted, I get it. This is like a first world, perk or privilege, however you want to call it, where we're actually able to go and like listen to things when we can listen to them or when we want to listen to them. But I enjoy it. I enjoy being able to like listen to it while I'm doing the dishes. And like I don't have to worry about,
Staying glued to the radio.
yeah, like I can be doing something while I'm listening to it. And yeah, like for this one specifically, like out of the world audio. But I liked the immersiveness of it while you were still being able to just do your thing. I even actually kind of liked the way they were telling the story. I thought that was kind of cool. And there's quite a few podcasts that kind of do that, which we'll probably do a whole episode just talking about horror podcasts in general. But it's been a lot of fun. Kind of actually getting into like the audio portion. There actually was, am I doing my research for the podcast today? I did come across actually a very short YouTube video that they did on the darkest night where they talked about the 3D audio effects and the binaural audio. And the way that they would actually do it is they would have the microphone in the center, and the microphone actually looked like a head.
Yeah.
And so they would actually go around and record around this head. And so it would be so that way it was functional to like if somebody was like sitting there, how they would actually hear it. And I was like, that's cool. If that's how you're doing your audio, that's really cool.
It's really cool, but it also kind of like disturbing for me. It's like, let's talk to a head, man.
I mean, it looks like, so like, you know, in like art classes, how like they have like those like little wooden metal bendable bodies.
Yeah,
It looks like the head like that, where it's like there's like it's like a recess for like where the eyes would be, but it's not a real head.
It would have been hilarious if they like, sculpted a head. It's like, you're gonna talk to this head. Really?
And when this episode's released, I'll make sure that we post up that video in our Facebook group, so you guys, and maybe even some of our other social medias, share like the link or whatever, so you guys can actually watch the video. It's actually really, really neat. It's short, but they kind of talk about how like they wanted to make sure it was like immersive, and it really totally is. The squelching sounds alone, I was just like, whoa.
Oh.
I enjoyed the squelching sounds. I was like, it's like watching a movie, but not really.
Yeah. What was it? They were like bashing somebody's head in, and I'm just like, guys, like it really sounds like you're bashing this guy's head in. Good job.
Are you really bashing this guy's head in?
Nice.
Are you really cutting their fingers off?
Yeah. Like the footsteps, the breathing,
the staticky, the static voice on the baby monitor. That kind of freaked me out. That was
every time they have to get the fluid from the eyeballs, you can hear that. I think that I never listened to a few different like horror podcasts. None of them had that kind of audio. I have not had like another podcast that I've come across thus far that had the same kind of like audio sound effects that this one did. And I hope that there's more out there, and I just haven't found them, because I really did enjoy that portion of it. Well, let's go ahead and get into like the meat of this all, which is the story, which is absolutely insane. So you have Katie, who's an assistant working in the Roth-Lobdo Center for Advanced Research on Project Cyclops, where it basically you get to see the last moments, and I'm using air quotes on that, moments of a deceased individual. And usually they only get the head. So when they're in their little lab, they have a head just sitting there, and they have to remove the eyeball, get the liquid, and then inject it into whatever Project Cyclops is. I don't think they ever really they
don't describe it,
explain it too much, which I kind of like, because I'm like, ooh, there's still a little bit of mystery.
But what I think it is like, okay, it's a cube. They put the cube into a TV, and then they sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
I think of it kind of almost like, okay, so what is that movie with Tom Cruise and like the psychics, and like these balls come out and they have to like put the balls into like a machine, and then it like projects it? Minority Report.
Minority Report.
Okay, that's how I kind of see it. But instead of like the balls that you have to like put into the machine to project it, it's like you inject the eye goo and
into something.
Yeah, into like this machine, and it like then projects what that like the last, again, air quoting, moments that that
I kind of think it's kind of reminds me of that Robin Williams film with like what it was similar. I can't remember how he did, but he'd watch the memories or he'd save the memories on a disc for people so they'd always remember. So I visualized it kind of like being a projector, like they shone the light through liquid, kind of sort of, and they'd have like a screen where they could watch everything. That's how I felt it was. And they could save the material on little discs to save for later for reference. I mean, that's how
I'm trying to think of what Robin Williams film you're talking about.
I am too.
I'm like, Robin Williams in a movie like that?
Yeah, he was. He was in a couple horror movies. 1 Hour Photo, and then this one came out. That other one came out like not too far behind.
You talking about Final Cut?
Yeah, that's it. Final Cut. That's what it reminded me a little bit of.
Okay. Never even heard of that film.
It's a good movie.
But anyway, you look at it, they got to watch it. They got to see those last moments. I actually don't think that they kind of were recorded, considering how Vivian wanted some information from a head that they had examined, and Katie had the information, but couldn't say that she had it.
True.
But yeah, no,
I have to say Vivian is ruthless.
Vivian was ruthless. I mean,
in the first episode, you're like, God damn.
I mean, look how she grew up.
Yeah, it's true.
She grew up with 2 other siblings who tortured her.
Because she's adopted.
She had a dad who thrived off of the unrest between the 3 siblings and, encouraged the competition.
Yeah.
I mean, even past his death, he was like, oh yeah, you want the center? You got to kill each other for it. Like, WTH.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it wasn't WTH, it was WTF.
Like, yeah, definitely.
And I felt sorry for Katie because she was
a poor girl.
The only reason why she was working for them because her uncle was in the hospital and he needed all this treatment. And I was like, you put yourself in the middle of this date. You knew the consequences. You knew.
She knew, but she didn't know. That poor girl. Yeah. So you had like the will reading. Then you had, what was it? The Other. Oh my goodness. I'm actually going to pull up the show titles really quick, because I'm like, there was a lot, even though it was only 3 short seasons, there was a lot.
There's a lot of titles to go through.
A lot of titles to go through. But I think each and every episode would have made an amazing TV episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
This is definitely not something I would ever want to see like produced into like a movie, but this would be like an amazing,
like a Tales from the Dark Side type of
TV, like a short TV series.
Yeah.
All right. So you have the will reading, where we're introduced to Project Cyclops. We're introduced to Katie. We're introduced to Vivian. We're introduced to Dr. John Kessler. Yeah. You have the amazing Lee Pace as the narrator. For those who don't know actors by their names, he was the guy who played Rowan in Guardians of the Galaxy.
He also played the elf dad in like The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Then you have The Other, which takes us to a family being ripped apart by the most unfortunate of circumstances. Let's see here. Then we have Subject 6 Alpha 2, which is the quarantine episode. That was a mind fuck.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
That one was a mind fuck. Because, like, you got these people who think that they're being quarantined and they're trying to fight it. And, like, oh.
And then poor dude, you find out the poor dude was being brainwashed and he was a failed test subject. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah. And it's all for, what was it? Was that one Nexium?
I believe so, because they're doing a lot of experimentations with the mind control.
Well, one was Axiom 0.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was the same thing, but by 2 different companies.
It was the same thing, but they had both different names.
But, yeah. Crap. And of course, I left my notes someplace. Let me see if I can find it.
Was it absinthe something?
Yeah, I think so. You just don't have like a whole lot of information on this podcast out in the world.
Nope.
I'm
trying to find it. Like, I just listened to it.
Yeah.
I can't remember it.
Same.
That episode, the other, with the little child getting killed. What did you think of that?
Oh, it was interesting. I'll tell you that. I mean, the staticky stuff with the guy talking in the baby monitor, that was creepy in itself. Then when she found that trap door and everything with the present and stuff, that kind of creeped me out because it's like you never know what's going to be in your closet.
I mean, yeah, you never know what's going to be in your closet. Like, was this a new house for them? Because when the realtor tell you, hey, there's a
It
trap
was
door up there.
Yeah, and it was a new house because she had asked her mom to buy a baby monitor after her mom was bitching at her, of course. But I did not like her husband. I can't
He
remember.
was so dismissive and
Yeah,
gaslighting, and I was like, I hate you,
and
man.
you'll have to be. Is it the lithium? Not taking the lithium? Just trying to make her out like crazy.
It's like,
So
even I'm bipolar, okay? I took lithium. I still had,
I
moments
think
of,
lithium is it.
huh?
I think the lithium is it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
No, as in like Axiom Zero and lithium are the same drug.
oh,
Okay.
Just different companies. Because one was from Sigma Corp, the other one's from Loplo.
but it wasn't called lithium. It was like, it began with an A too. It was like Axiom and another one. It had the same A name on it. Because lithium is used for bipolar disorder. Because I was on lithium, and what he meant to say it was, what I got out of it is like, you're not on your lithium, so you're having like hallucinations and you're going into psychosis and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've been off my lithium before. I've never had psychosis. I never went through anything like that. So for me, it was like someone's person is making you crazy on purpose.
Yep. That's the feeling I got.
Yeah.
And I'm like the whole trapdoor thing. I'm like, your realtor would tell you if you have other things in this house, like
If they know about it.
if they know about it. But I'm like, oh yeah, this used to be a murder house too. Do you still want it? What do you mean it used to be a murder house?
And you have to remember, Home Guy worked for Roth Lobdo.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And he got the house because he works for Roth Lobdo. So I think the house was set up because they were planning on using him and his family for things.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And like the amount of control that they have over basically everybody who worked there.
Mm-hmm. True.
Like it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Subject 6 Alpha 2, that one was crazy because I'm thinking, oh, they're having zombies in this game, in this spot.
We were just excited because
Right?
they were gonna have zombies.
Yes, I was like, zombies. And then, I hear his brother talking. I'm like, why is his brother talking? Why is his brother here? Now what's going on? It's not zombies, it's aliens. Are they being, chased by aliens? And then no, it was just a test subject on trying to test a new drug that could control people and doing what they wanted them to do. And I was like so disappointed. I mean, it was a good episode. I was just so disappointed.
You just wanted the zombies.
Yes, I did. I mean, yes, I did. And so the next episode was In the Basement. What are your thoughts about that one?
That was a good one.
That was
I liked that one a lot.
Yeah, me too.
like the poor little paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
So do you think they actually had something going on in her house for their equipment to go off like that?
I think it was another experiment.
Yeah, me too.
Like the quarantine, but I think it was done differently. Like I think it was meant to be done in the basement and like in a basement type setting instead of like an apartment. Because like the paranormal aspect doesn't match any of the other paranormal aspects of this show, especially when you get in like to like the cult portion.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I mean, are you talking about like, the Camp Bethlehem where, he was actually drugged and thinking about, the end of times? Are you talking about season 3? Because in season 1,
any of it.
Yeah.
Anytime like the cult portion kind of came up, there was like a supernatural aspect to it of like there being some type of like higher functioning being of some sort. So be it a god or just a supernatural, whatever, fae. It could be a number of different type of creatures. But the way the supernatural aspects worked with that doesn't match like the ghost haunting that was in the basement. if that makes sense. Like vibe wise, it just
Well, if you don't
like they don't work.
well, if you don't listen to season 3, if you
Well,
just stop
even
at
with season
2,
two, even with season two,
Yeah.
like you had like the little boy and the elephants and like all that kind of stuff, and that
that was in season 3.
was in season two, wasn't it? The end
No,
of
that was season
two?
3. It was season 3 where you had the elephant, Safari Valley,
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy Farm, this with the scarecrows and
Okay.
stuff like that. It's like if you don't listen to season 3, you think this is a whole
But
different
that's the thing. This whole podcast, if you don't have season three, it's great.
Yeah. If you don't have season
Now,
3,
don't get me
it's great.
wrong. Season three had some great episodes in it. It just doesn't connect to seasons 1 and 2.
It does not. It really does not. I love Keith David. That was the only reason why I listened to it, was just because of Keith David. The plots, I was like, it's not connecting here, man. It's not connecting.
Same.
Yeah, there was a massive disconnect. I know we were kind of talking about it before the show started, and honestly, like I felt like season 3 was half-assed. It wasn't. It was like I know that they had like gotten greenlit on other projects, and like that's where their head was at. They had people who had to like up and leave because of other projects that they got signed on to. But it just, I feel like there had to have been a better way to wrap everything up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like the way that they wrapped it up was like how they wanted to wrap it up if they had like another like season or 2 under their belts.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's either information missing or they just really didn't care about what they had done previously.
It was more like they didn't care like what they were done previously for me.
I would agree with you, Karen, 100%.
Because like with Katie, like she got brought back to work as a government agent. That would have worked if you had like a full season to establish her as like a government agent. And then had like a season where like she got like roped back in and was able to like go to that final ceremony thing and have it end that way. But like you could have it then as like a government agencies following the cult portion of it. And it just it
did some weird
there was hop, skips, and jumps, and none of it connected. There wasn't like cohesion between it all.
It was not. Like if I were to continue the story on, like what I would have done with like season 3, my thought was, because I was like, I don't like this season. I want to write my own season 4. Where, another agency came and, brought Katie back. Like a third agency, because there's always threes. There's always a group of threes. There's like the 3 evils. You have the 2 going against each other, and then you have that one that's like, how could I fuck both of them over where I win?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would have bought, Katie back, and she'd be like, I thought I was dead. It's like, no, you died. You didn't die. You were unconscious. That's where we found you. But actually, she did die. They just had the ability to reanimate her. Not like in the Reanimator, where they, but she had all her faculties and stuff like that. It's like, hey, we know you were working on this project with them. We have something similar. Could you help us out? Yeah. So like I had this whole storyline going, and like come to find out, the person that's helping her was actually an experiment from Sigma and Roth's old days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole, like, I almost want them to do like a prequel of like the Sigma Roth, like union, like where the 2 guys were working together to then when they split. Like that was kind of a cool, like side story that they had added in there.
Yeah. Like with season 4, like, he's like, yeah, I'm a union of both experiments that they were doing. They just forgot about me. And they're like, what do you mean they forgot about you? They forgot about me. And so I had to make myself perfect. Could you imagine that experiment coming to Vivian? It's like, you think you're ruthless? Bitch, you don't know nothing.
Well, and just like the mind control of it all, like that's insane. What about like some of like the interesting characters that were in there? Like that one chick from Horn's limo service.
Wasn't that the same chick that killed off the
Yeah, she was like a mercenary.
Yeah. And then she got bad blood, and poor Steve, the nurse. I was like,
poor Steve. I know, right? That guy, he was through so much. He had to take care of Vivian's biological mother. He had to deal with Vivian. And then he had to deal with that crazy chick.
Yeah.
He couldn't win for lose.
I mean, Man, I was like, no, Steve, survive. At least want one good character to survive.
Right?
Wholeheartedly good. Like, yes, he survived, yay. But no, he gets his throat ripped out and I was like, oh, Steve, no. And that
Yeah.
poor kid, Kirby, oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, Kirby, you're so damaged now. The trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma, that's trauma.
I wonder whose head he used, though, to, like, bash Morgan's head in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't think they ever actually did say, did they?
Mm-mm.
I don't think they did, no.
Because I would love to see the eyeball of that dude or woman.
Right? Like, honestly, like, Project Cyclops as a whole just would have been, like, amazing if that's just, like, all they ever did was you just had, like, random story. Like, they didn't even need, like, the whole Roth Lobdell versus Sigma Corps and, like, all that kind of stuff. They didn't even need all that. They could have literally just done
Project Cyclops
episodes and, like, it would still be going today because you could do literally whatever you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I kind of dig the fact that, because I remember going through some like Reddits where people were like, oh, I hate the fact that like it's not all POV of the person whose head they have. And I'm like, yeah, but I kind of like that because you're getting a full encompassing of the story.
Yeah.
And maybe there's more to it than just that. Like, I kind of like it. Like it's almost like makes you immersive in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I've heard like a lot of people are like, no, I don't like it. It doesn't make sense. It's not like you're only supposed to be able to see the point of view of the person whose head you have. I'm like, yeah.
I mean,
But I
if
think
you
the storytelling's better.
like, if you switched it up to like some people do first person, and then others do
Yeah.
like the whole third omniscient person, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, it was a lot of first person, especially when you did get into like the project portion. Like it would be the like, this person got ready and they got into like they were waiting for their limo. They got in and like the lady was driving weird. But then where you would have like Vivian's point of view a little bit. Not
Yeah.
Vivian,
Katie?
the driver's point of view.
Oh, yeah.
Or like you would get like glimpses of like other things happening all at the same time. I like that as like a listener because it gives you more context than just the singular like point of
Mhm.
view. It to me it didn't distract from the story.
Oh, no, it didn't.
So I get why some people said that. I guess like if you really wanted it to be more like scientific or factual or whatever, but it's a fictional story. They can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think storytelling wise, it's better when they
Yes.
did it that way. But can we talk about the corruption of Senator Carlisle?
Dude, like, so in the season 4, like the person that's coming back, she takes off. She basically just assassinates him. She like looks at Case like, listen, we don't need a cannibal in the house.
No, and wasn't there even talk of him like running for president?
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, at one point. Yeah,
Yep.
no, a cannibalistic president.
And he's also feeding people.
I mean,
human
we probably
flesh.
already had one, but but no, I actually kind of like I actually really liked his character.
He reminds me of Walton Scoggins. That's his last name. Walton Goggins. Let me get his last name correct because he played a lot of characters. He played he's the ghoul in Fallout.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Goggins, yes. He reminds like that voice that he does, that southern voice. I was like, is that Walton? Is that him? And I had to look it up and it's like, oh, that's not him.
That voice reminds me of John Goodman's Cyclops in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh my. Yeah.
Like, make him older, make him a little bigger,
Mm-hmm.
make him all white, and boom.
Yeah.
Like somebody who you could easily see cosplaying, KFC. Like that in my brain, that is who I was seeing was just a good old Southern boy.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
saying